Well, Mr. Orderly, thoughts are a funny thing. They're abstract, entirely intangible, and yet they are the most vile, malicious things in existence. From pure, hollow potential for imagination, to a twisted prejudice or some revenge fantasy in a second. That's what thoughts are. I mention this because I've experienced what I believe to be a thought gone rogue. I thought I could just be completely mad. This could all just be theoretical, insane ramblings of a crazy man. I can't tell anymore. I can't think of anything but the thought. I don't know exactly what happened to begin this chain of events. One day, I just woke up and started thinking thoughts that didn't belong to me. Though I didn't register it much at the time, I suppose the first hint at the infectious thought's existence was a relatively minor fleeting musing that crossed my mind at breakfast. All my life, I'd hated oranges, and everything that contained them. Orange juice, I despised. Orange cream popsicles, I hated. I couldn't stand oranges themselves. But this morning, I saw the orange in my wife's decorative fruit basket and had a craving for oranges. At the time, I assumed I was just tired. Perhaps my tastes had even changed over time. Eventually, I grabbed an orange from the fridge and took a bite. It tasted as awful as they usually do, but I had this odd feeling that I was desperately trying to like it. The next few instances were fairly innocuous. Uncharacteristically frequent swearing, increased frugality with money, heightened libido, things like that. Eventually, I found myself confused by the mess of unfamiliarity my thoughts had become. At this point, I began to take notice of my increasingly uncharacteristic thoughts, but I thought little of it. Opinions change. The first of the more drastic alterations to my psyche was profound, vague hatred. I would look at human beings, any human beings, and my mind would automatically despise them. Man or woman, child or adult, black or white, acquaintance or stranger, every person I encountered, I regarded with contempt. Worse, I am absolutely sure my mind was trying to convince me that this newfound cynicism was absolutely normal, for I didn't even notice it until I hit my son for the first time. He hadn't even done anything wrong. I distinctly remember he had just asked me a question, and I slapped him across the face. I spent the night thinking. I have a theory though. I have no doubt this will sound like the insane pleas of a madman trying to justify himself, but I firmly believe in the infectious thought. I believe there's something, some abstract entity masquerading as a thought. Maybe it's a living thought itself. Whatever it is, it's invaded my mind, and it's replacing my thoughts with itself. This parasitic, formless thing is what's bringing these changes in my personality. It made me hit my son. I'm just a puppet to its thought, whether it realizes it or not. And I fear it may be trying to spread. I've noticed recently that my son has become more cold, reserved and cynical when he had been once open and cheerful. The thought has no doubt infected him as well. No, please, keep listening. I think the thought can only move through other thoughts. For example, if two people are thinking about a movie, the infectious thought can jump from one mind to another, infecting both of them. I also believe that it forces the infected to think common thoughts, so as to move more easily. That's why my libido had grown, and I become somewhat more greedy. It made me think of sex and money in order to connect with other minds more quickly. Stop, please, Mr. Audley, let me finish. If you still think I'm crazy by the end of this, then I'll let you lock me up with no protest. Anyway, at any moment, it can jump from mind to mind simply by virtue of two people thinking the same thing. It could invade you right now, if you are thinking the same thing as an infected. That's why I was afraid of this thought, because of its sheer infectivity. Now, I can prove I'm not insane now. I've spoken with the thought. No, it's true. I have. I've asked it questions once. What are you? Where are you? That kind of thing. Then I began to think the answers. Or rather, it began to think them for me. In my mind's eye, I saw myself and my son and my wife, I saw my boss, my co-workers, my friends. I saw people I hadn't seen since high school. I saw everybody I knew. For a moment, I was confused. But when the realization hit me, it hit me like a train. I immediately called the police. I didn't know who else to call. I knew deep in my heart that they could do nothing about the infectious thought. The thought knew that as well, and it began to gloat silently to myself. And that's why I'm here, Mr. Orderly. They thought I was crazy, but I'm not. I'm not crazy. I just know the truth. And if that makes me a lunatic, you can admit me to the sanitarium right now. Please though, do me one favor. Think unconventional thoughts. Thoughts that nobody else would think. That will keep you safe from the thought. Never let your mind lapse into normalcy. In just a split second, it can invade you. Don't think about the thought itself though. That's what it's making me think of. Thank you for sticking around to the end. If you enjoyed today's story, don't forget to leave a like. And if you want to hear more stories like it, don't forget to subscribe and click that bell icon. That way you'll never miss a story. Oh, and if you haven't already, don't forget to follow me on Twitter so you can keep up with the latest goings on the channel.